Hey, I've got to say a couple of things here real quick as an introduction, and then we'll get into our guest, Heather. So this podcast is really about the community, the experience of living in North Idaho, and that's kind of why we bring it to you guys. It's a passion project for Dave and myself and Eric when he's here. Because we get a lot of questions from people that want to understand what it's like to live in North Idaho. And I think there's no better way to do it than to tap into the amazing community members that we have here.
And to focus on that, the people that we bring on here are local members of North Idaho.
Yes.
Maybe every now and then we'll bring somebody, we'll make sure that you know. But yeah, these are people that own businesses, that live in the community, that participate in the community. And that's why it's important to us.
Yes. Dave and I and Eric, we put our bread on the table by selling real estate. I always got to put that caveat out there. So if you're listening and you guys are thinking about making that move up here, hit us up, please. Our whole team is former first responders and or veterans, and we love helping guys and gals like you out there make that move. So that being said, I'd like to introduce Heather Gallegos from Heat Praxia, former Marine, former coffee shop manager. We were just talking about coffee, and I actually learned a little bit right then and there. Dave is on a kick to get addicted to coffee, so we've been working on that for about a month now.
I'm trying to adapt to coffee, and so far, it tastes like shit.
Is there? Are you noticing more hair on your chest yet? No, really?
I'm noticing more hair, not on my chest.
That's a byproduct. I got my wife. He's growing hair out on the eagle head.
Just my eagle head.
And I told him to bleach it so it'll have like a white.
You know those kids books that you like, it's a caterpillar. It's like, oh, touch the caterpillar. So I shave my arms, but I'm growing it out just on my eagle head.
Can we not use reference of kids touching the eagle head? I just know. I'm not okay with this.
Real fast.
Wow.
I'm not okay with it. Yeah, my mind went there.
Heather. From Heat Praxia.
Yes. So thank you for joining us. Hit us with the history, because Heat Praxia has been down some rough roads. We used to go there all the time, especially when I lived downtown. We had a membership, and it was fantastic. And then catastrophe happened.
It did.
Yeah.
So Heat Praxia, let's see. We'll take it back to day one.
Yes.
We opened November 22nd, 2021. So we had about 2 years, 3 months, really great time. Largely organic. Honestly, we did next to no marketing and got to capacity issues within a year, just based on organic growth, taking good care of people, and you know from your experience, Sauna and Cold-Plunge just absolutely speak for themselves.
Yep.
Once you've done it, nobody has to twist your arm to get you to do it again, unless you like not feeling good and you're a complete pain in the ass. Like, other than that, you're gonna get back in there, because that first night of sleep after sauna, just all the things, the pain relief for me, especially I'm a chronic pain sufferer. Mm-hmm. That's what led me to the career choice. I was already using red light actually very regularly leading up to moving along with Heat Praxia. I suffered a pretty gnarly head injury in January of 2020. Were you guys here yet?
Yeah. No, I was not.
Massive windstorm. If you remember the massive windstorm.
Oh, yeah, I was working that night.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of trees.
Wait, I was here for that. Never mind. Okay, I was here.
Like homes completely taken out. Some homes had multiple trees fall on one home. Well, I was at the chef store. Nothing exciting about my story. My car door closed.
I thought you were going to say a tree fell on your head or something.
Car door. Okay. I'd be not probably talking about it, but it was bad. I woke up, it knocked me out, woke up laying on the pavement. Yes. And I had, it was like the Flintstones goose egg, that immediately grows. That's totally what I got. I still kind of have
from the wind.
From the wind. Shut my car door, knocked me out. And from that day, it was just a wild, wild day.
Does anybody have video of that? That would be kind of fun to watch.
They probably had surveillance.
You should have gone and got that, because that would have been pretty cool.
You know how even in those moments, like, there's something about the ego self that, like, you look around, like, did anybody see that?
Oh, yeah. That's the first, that is the first thing.
The first thing I did, I was like, oh my gosh, did anybody just see my car door, like, whoop my ass in this parking lot? Well, it got increasingly worse after that. It didn't help that I went and worked 8 hours after that.
Right.
Never iced it, nothing. I put on a Carhartt beanie and go to work. And you could see the bone formation underneath my beanie.
Oh, boy.
So I start red lighting. I heard, red light helps with the bone injury. I had a lot of nerve pain in it that was going like down my face. It was even affecting the vision of my right eye. hurt through the back of my head, felt like these weird nerve sensations. And
at any moment, did you think to yourself, like, I made it through the Marine Corps and this is how it ends?
oh, I've had many of those moments.
Fucking car door.
Yeah.
What?
I've had, there's been, one time I thought a white-tailed deer was how this ends. Like, I've had those moments. You know?
Strange.
gosh.
That's
Totally.
strange.
It is. And the funny thing is it snuck up on me, not knowing it was sneaking up on me. I was like starting my car. Let's divert for just one moment for the white-tailed deer. Sorry. Early riser, got to get out there, get the vehicle started at like 4:30. And it's winter. This is a couple years ago. But this whitetail is walking down my street, and it's pitch black outside, right? I just hear something coming up on me, and I'm like, I go into straight, who's going to die this morning mode, And I turn, and like, I'm so startled, and this white-tailed deer has no clue I'm there. It's startled, like we're both just, it literally goes back into the trees across the street. I'm just like, that was ridiculous. We're both safe. Let's go on with our day, right? Yeah. So another one of those opportunities where I thought, what a weird way to die.
Yeah.
Fast forward, all the red light, everything. It's greatly improving my head injury, but simultaneously, I'm noticing all the nerve pain that I have in my hands is going away.
Oh, wow.
And it's been, I've suffered from neuropathy from like 2005.
Wow.
No joke.
Was
Every
there
day
a
of my
cause
life.
for that, for the neuropathy and everything?
Yes, I can speculate. So I have several autoimmune conditions,
Okay.
which definitely contribute. I would say the Marine Corps for sure is where my pain like
Right.
this started. So, whether it was overuse, a whole lots of overuse going on in the Marine Corps, not a lot of time to ever recover, ever recuperate. And the nerve pain just stayed with me ever since.
Right.
So, and it was debilitating. There were, especially through pregnancies, through my pregnancies, I could not sleep at night. I was lucky, and we're talking for 15 years straight, if I slept for more than 45 minutes straight.
That's pretty nice. So when you say autoimmune, the reason I'm bringing this up is, so I was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré in 2013.
Okay.
And I got it from, I can't even say it. This would be medical misinformation if I said it on here, but
We can establish this is not medical advice.
I got a shot. Okay.
Yep.
And I ended up getting Guillain-Barré. I was in the hospital. I was pretty much paralyzed. I couldn't feel anything from the neck down. I could move, I could shuffle a little bit, but all my fine motor movements was gone. I could barely get on the floor. I couldn't tell my legs how to function. It was like trying to have to walk again. So I still have a lot of that neuropathy in like my fingertips and my, where you have those really fine nerve endings.
Yeah.
My fingertips and my toes, like every now and then they'll kind of flare up, or it just kind of hurts, or they just they'll go numb.
Feel like you sat on them and
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I've had that. So when you said that, that's why I was thinking about it. And
Do you
obviously
take creatine?
I started recently taking creatine again.
Take a really good creatine.
Right now I'm taking gummies because I'm on this dumb diet and I need something sweet every day, and they just taste good. But
They
yeah,
have and they're creatine.
yeah, it's the new Create gummies. I tried those.
Okay.
I don't know if they're good or not.
Thorne makes a really awesome creatine that is nothing else.
Really?
And that's
I
one
think
thing
that's
I
the
will
one we
say
have.
is, yeah, it's so good. It's it's kind of gross. It's chalky.
Just
That's
like a
another
clean monohydrate.
thing. What's that?
Just like a clean monohydrate.
Yep.
That's it?
Yep. 5 milligrams. You could, as an active man, you could do that, twice a day. A woman, I'd say we're only going to take 5 milligrams a day. But that made a huge difference for me as well. Like adding creatine helped my nerve pain.
Okay.
Oh, that's good to know.
much.
I started about a month ago, and I've been pretty consistent since then. I mix it with powdered greens that I have,
Yeah.
and it's like I don't taste it at all. It's good.
Yeah, and if you do it in enough water, it's like you just have to get it down the hatch. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
whatever,
It's like a shot
right?
of something gross, and then
Yeah,
chase
Right.
it with some more
Because
water.
I'm suffering from the same types of things right now. I just posted on Instagram this morning. I said I hurt my knee, and I'm active. I'm in the gym. It was nothing cool. I was in bed last night, and I realized I was a little too low on the bed. I needed to scoot up. So I put my right leg down and I pushed and I twisted my right knee.
Oh,
Can I just say that
Moving in bed.
you have reached the pinnacle of adulthood when you hurt yourself in bed.
It hurts right now, and I did nothing.
Good job.
So
I can relate.
Impressive.
So let's talk about this. You recovered a lot, and you, I'm guessing, attribute a lot of that to the healthy lifestyle and some of the things that you did. So let's talk about, with Heat Praxia, some of the things that you did that you think are beneficial for that recovery, such as your cold dipping, red light therapy, things like that.
Yes. So yeah, that led me to Heat Praxia, where sauna became a part of my everyday life. Cold-Plunge became a part of my everyday life. And then things just really started to amplify in my recovery and in my healing. And it's still been a journey with lots of ups and downs because there were still underlying things that I was unaware of. I was entering that whole new space not knowing I had Hashimoto's. So it was about a year into Heat Praxia that I was diagnosed with another autoimmune condition, which did in some ways it actually stunted some of my my growth because in my healing, because what it does is it makes it hard for you to detox, for one. People who have Hashimoto's are recirculating toxins. So sauna and cold plunge can actually be kind of hard on you because you're releasing all this crap and it's going in your system and recirculating. And what will often happen, and what happened to me, was it came out of my skin. And so skin, huge organ, right? It's going to detox. Your liver's going to do what it can first, but another symptom is we have congested liver. And that's not just Hashimoto's people, that's really our society based on our food supply is busted. There's sugar in almost everything. Excuse me. So sugar leads to congested liver, right? So all these things are just piling up on me. And now I'm sauna regularly, I'm cold plunge regularly, and I'm not detoxifying properly. My lymph is stagnant. I haven't learned these things about myself yet, or just about physiology in general. And so it starts coming out of my skin. I've got dermatitis around my eyes, around my mouth, coming out of my nostrils.
Wow.
And yeah, it was
impressive.
Miserable. I'm like, this is how I die.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to crawl in a hole and I'm never going to come out of it, because you have to face the world every day. And there would be days, if I smiled too big, my face would crack and I would bleed. Like, it was miserable.
Wow.
You don't want to face anybody in that situation. All Zoom calls, all cameras off, like not going out into the world. It was just horrible. But it was also kind of this odd blessing in disguise, which my life is so filled with, like how the world crapped on me. And then from that, I was like, learn something amazing from it.
Right.
And that was the next step to really learning and helping other people within the sauna studio space that were kind of having similar struggles as me. Because some people are like, man, I feel like garbage or whatever it may be. And started learning about opening like your lymph system before getting in sauna. And that made a huge difference for me. And I'm obviously an outlier, but there's a lot of people, and especially within our wellness space, that are coming there because they have autoimmune conditions. They're in chronic pain.
How do you open your lymph system prior?
It's like a tapping, dry brushing. So
Okay.
I would recommend, it's called clearing the big six, and that's how I start it. Because a lot of people think of just dry brushing. They start at their ankles, they move towards their heart. But you got to kind of think of it like plumbing. And, your toilet could be backing up and you could be plunging it all day long. But if the clog is 20 feet down the line, plunging your toilet's not going to do the job, right? You got to snake first. So it's kind of like that. And you just start in the right spot, which is up collarbone area. So tapping, smacking, rubbing. Then you do the lymph that's behind your ears. And then you move like to pits, chest, stomach. Then you move down.
I'm hesitant to try this at the gym. I just feel like I might get some weird looks.
I want you to try it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you
Try
do
it.
it to me, and I'll do it to you. That would be
You will guarantee the weird
not
looks
weird, right?
if you guys clear each other's
So
big six.
opening the lymph system. What's the purpose of that?
The purpose is, so your lymph system is, it doesn't have a pump. So, there's almost just as much fluid that you're moving around, just like blood, only your blood has this amazing 4-chambered muscle. Your lymph is going to rely on your body movement. And so if you're not exercising, this is why jumping rope is so great. Any hopping, like a lot of times when I'm in the sauna, I'll just bounce on my toes, right? Bounce on the meat of the balls of your feet, because that just helps pump it up. Rebounding the little trampolines like our grandmas had, and they'd bounce in their sock warmers and stuff. Like, they had wisdom.
My mom had one of those.
Yeah, they're amazing.
So and it's funny you bring that up, because whenever I hear of these things that people are finding that work to help with diseases, to help with chronic pain, everything else, I always kind of go back to a primal thought of like, well, what did we do before all of this? What is it that we're not doing now?
Walking.
The truth is we wake up in a box, we walk out and get in another box that moves and go somewhere, and then we sit in another box. Like, we don't do that stuff normally. We don't get exposed to the heat, the sunlight, the cold temperatures, everything else.
Totally. And that's the premise of why sauna works, right? The eustress, the hormetic stressor that we used to just get in our everyday life through hunting, through foraging. Like, we did not have food at our disposal. You didn't get a Uber Eats stuff straight to your door. The most exercise you got today was like dialing a number and getting from the couch to the door to get your food. Where there, families might have gone a few days, a week longer without food. And then there was that kill, and then there was a feast. And so life was vastly different.
Right.
And we see a lot of the same amazing mechanisms within fasting that we see within sauna, cold plunge, because it's also a eustress.
Right.
And
That word eustress, I think it's EU stress, right? Yeah. And it's that's a cool concept. I remember talking about this, something to do with when I was a cop, I don't remember, but it's that concept of like a good stressor for the body, right? Like working out.
right?
You're stressing the body.
Experience it a lot.
Yeah, because the constant cortisol dumps and adrenaline dumps, and like it jacks you up really bad. So yeah,
Totally.
like
And
finding a stressor that is still a stressor on your body, but it produces a good result afterwards.
And with sauna and breath work and cold plunge, we're really wanting to move towards not only LEO, but fire, veterans, and kind of mental health as the whole scope. But making that the first stops because they're easy to find and to provide service to.
Right.
Because of the job related exposures, you are having these moments where you're dumping all this adrenaline. And like I was kind of joking that maybe it was to your benefit that you weren't drinking coffee during that time, because it can be to the detriment of somebody who's getting 5 hours of sleep a night, doing a high stress job, has these exposures, and is just taxing their adrenals over
41 and a half
over
years,
again.
no coffee. And now I'm
Here you go. You're
starting
drinking.
to drink this
Choking
crap.
it down and pretending you like it.
This is good. And you're drinking out of a Keurig, so you're adding some
am. It's
microplastics
just
to your
straight
brain.
There's
Black.
plastics in your cup too, so you got like the double dose.
Yeah.
I can tell you, yeah.
Heat Praxia will be open soon, and hopefully we'll come help
can
you
de-stress
sweat some of
that.
that
Listen,
out.
I have 5 bags of Doritos that are framed on the wall downstairs in my
That's a
house.
true story.
So if there's bad things that exist out there, I've eaten enough of them. All right, like if there's a
Were they
disease that comes
signed
from
by
eating,
somebody special? Why
no,
would you
it's
frame
a
of it?
joke. Okay, I'll just say it real quick. He just wants me to say
Please.
it. So when I was a little kid, I used to, there's this whole story that goes along with it, but it culminates with me being in 5th grade, a chubby little kid. And I would be, every night I'd find myself in our back house, and I'd be sitting there in my bean bag with my rat tail. I had a rat tail. I had a hair at a time.
Of course.
Yeah, I know. You just keep going, Dave.
Okay, deep digging.
Okay.
I'm painting a picture in my mind.
Yeah, he is. Okay, I'd be sitting there with like either a Mountain Dew and a Dr. Pepper, a bag of Doritos, and like a Reese's or something like that. And I'd have my pet
There
rat
it is.
Splinter.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
my pet rat Splinter. Right. Chubby Dave sitting in a beanbag with my pet rat watching Steven Seagal movies.
Did
which
you?
are
Did you?
good.
I mean, yeah, that's the one thing out of it that's really good. Did you feed him Doritos while you were hanging?
I can't even remember, dude.
Yeah, I bet.
I can't. I
Just
had
tell
a
me you
rat.
did. Tell me you did. Tell me he sat on your shoulder and you fed him Doritos.
So, anyways,
It sounds like some
I
clinical
wasn't
trial.
the pinnacle of health as a child. So, anyways, but yeah, to get back to cold plunging and everything else. You know what's neat too? Especially with LEO veterans, first responders, like they do have. I wouldn't say that they own. That they own the gambit when it comes to having these types of problems and pain issues and sleep issues and cortisol levels and all this other stuff that a lot of people do. But I have found, and one thing that frustrates me, I'm going to ask you in a minute about, do you guys work with insurance? Because I think you guys said you were starting to do that. Is that there are things out there that work. There's treatment that works. And a lot of times it doesn't have to be as invasive. It can be pleasurable, right? And it seems like the mainstream pharmaceuticals and everything else don't want you to have access to that, because if we're paying your insurance for you to go and hang out at a sauna club and sit there and sweat and red light and cold plunge and there's nice music on, it's too pleasurable for us to be willing to to do that.
Right.
And the truth is that it's still a form of treatment that seems to have some really good benefits for people.
Oh, all day long. I mean, that's part of the reason why there's less support for it. Without getting too far into that rabbit hole.
Let's go.
Let's
Black
go.
hole.
It does not hold you hostage to the pharmaceutical industry.
Right.
So why would they? You know what I mean? I can say my experience with trying to get the insurance set up, which you guys might recall happened like 2 days before
Right
we
at the
flooded,
end.
Yes.
with the help of Eric and his HRA or HSA like Viva
Yep.
card. I'm doing the back work with the merchant coding, and I'm trying to get that pushed through because they wanted to view it as a spa service. And like, no, we're literally doing medical grade things here. So I had to do this huge push with payment processing and merchant code to have it switched from, like, this isn't where you're just coming, like, getting your nails done. You know what I mean? We have people who are coming off of high blood pressure medication. We have people who are coming off of their SSRI medications. Like, this is the real deal. And so however we have to define it, and that's where they get you, is the definition of a business. And if I didn't enjoy a wonderful challenge with people who want to get off the phone with me, it could have fallen dead. But I was like, I absolutely know there's a workaround to this. So you guys know Carrie Krolichek?
I don't know.
Fabulous woman. She's just amazing. Like, I hope I'm half that woman when I grow up. And her husband, Mike, he was shot on duty in...
That name
I
is-
was in the Marine Corps, so
Krolichek.
I wasn't
Yes.
home.
Yes.
Mike
Okay.
was
Yes.
that summer of 2005, I think.
That's where
Yeah,
the
because
name-
I was at
okay.
Camp Lejeune and when this happened, but Mike survived, and so she's been, Mike's like sole caretaker since. He's got a spinal injury from it. Has really used his experience and that attack to become just an amazing speaker and bring this message to people. But through that, Carrie is also, she's brilliant, just amazing woman, genius brain, and we're gonna combine our forces. So she works largely with psych, LEO,
Okay.
first response. And we're teaming up. She's taking and prescribing sauna to her patients.
Awesome.
And I'm designing pricing units that are associated to these prescriptions.
Right.
And then a vast majority of her people have VIBA or HSA or FSA. So we're going to be able to get sauna to these individuals
Right.
for probably nothing out of pocket.
And
That's
it's hard.
awesome.
It's hard because you have, it's like they want you to be miserable, right? It's like pharmaceuticals and everything else want you to be miserable. They want you to,
just gotta
if
follow
you're
money.
doing treatment, it has to be something that's painful, that's, that takes away from your day. It shouldn't be something that's making you smile.
There's no money in healthy people, right?
There isn't.
Right. That's
There isn't.
what it comes down to. And there's like a little bit of I think Big Pharma's probably done this. There's a stigma around treatments like this. I know a few cops that did acupuncture for various things, and they were so weird about it when they come in. They're like, "Hey, yeah, I'm doing acupuncture."
Yeah.
So cool, man. Is it working? Yeah. Okay, then good. You don't have to whisper it.
Let's
You're not
go.
doing drugs. Like you're doing acupuncture. It's
Right.
fine. Yeah, but I think that stigma is out there probably for Cold-Plunge and sauna in some way. Like it sounds like some hippie shit or something, right?
And you get it with a lot of the natural remedies, right? Essential oils.
Oh, yeah.
And the funny thing is like the vast majority of our pharmaceutical models came from these models.
Right.
Like pharmakia was plant medicine first. And then we had some rich, powerful people go, how do we make sure that we can continue to use the byproducts
Synthetic.
of, and what's left over from petroleum.
Right.
So it was just a lot like how seed oils got into our food. We have waste, and how do we turn this waste into more money? Doesn't matter what the cost is to people's health. Like this is follow the money. And there is, at least in my mind, I'm hopeful for there to be change with decent leadership in our future.
Yeah.
Maybe something amazing will come along. You sound like the boy that like RFK was.
What would
In the
that be? We
beanbag.
got 33 days.
Okay, let's go. RFK is going to come wreck shop. If he gets in there, and I'm excited about beef tallow, to be honest. Like, I cook my eggs in beef tallow, and it's so good.
Oh, yeah.
It's good.
It's
French fries and beef tallow. Sign me up.
Beef tallow for everything. So
yeah.
But that's the stigma they've created, right?
100%.
To where when you do things that have been done for thousands of years, it's weird.
Yeah.
It was like when we had puppies at home. I put it on Instagram. I'm like, I've never had puppies before. I'm going to film this. And some people are like, that's gross. I'm like, no, what's gross is the fact that you've never seen a puppy born, right?
Yeah.
That's
right.
what's weird. It's weird that I haven't seen a puppy born. And so beef tallow, things like that, this stuff has been used. And from my understanding is that a lot of these things we've been exposed to for thousands of years. And, we're not aware of it anymore because it's not something that we get exposed to anymore. Right. But we've been exposed to it for thousands of years, and we didn't have the diseases and the man-made things that we have now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and a good example of a population of that would be like the Alaskan natives, right? There was no cancer. And what do they live off of? Blubber.
Yeah.
Like their diet was fat. And they were cancer-free people until Western type mentalities infiltrated, their tribes, and they're eating processed grains and sugars. And now here comes cancer cells.
I really believe that I'm doing this diet right now with Nate Schaefer, who was on here, and he took me on. He's trying to get me from 24% body fat down to 10. And it's going really well. I'm just convinced that all he did was take away sugar.
Absolutely.
I'm mad because I'm eating like the same thing every day, but it's not things that are too far off from what I'd normally eat. But then I'd also, tie in all these processed foods and sugars and everything else. And now I'm like, I look at my meal for the day and I'm like, there's no love in that. There's no love in
It's
my
all
meal.
Whole Foods, dude.
Yeah.
That's
right.
that is your brain will definitely adapt, right? And just like it adapted to sugar, it's going to adapt to not eating sugar.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you're going to feel like superhuman. And it is the one thing that I believe came into, at least first, it came on scene, well before seed oils. And this was also just a government subsidy of how do we make animal saturated fats look bad? We blame it. We blame what sugar's doing on animal fats. And that's really what happened. We had a lot of literature that was paid by the sugar company to make animal fats look bad. And the funny thing about truth is you can only suppress it for so long. Right? Because the pendulum swings back and forth. And we've been through at least a decade, real weird decade, right? And some of us might have begun to feel like can it get any weirder from here? And maybe this is the part where the pendulum comes back around and the truth is revealed. And there's information is too widely available. We have everything at our fingertips. So if you're just not lazy, you're going to get out there. You're going to find that this is inaccurate, what they have to say about food, and that there's even now the push is like nutrition's really not that important, and the obesity is a gene, and it's like this is insanity. Maybe at this point in time we have affected DNA to the point of it's running within families because the genetic code is being broken.
Look at any picture that you can find. I challenge you, if you're watching this, look up any picture of people in the 1950s. Just
thinking that,
photos of the 1950s, and you identify how many fat people are in there. Mm-hmm. Like, and every one of us has found ourselves. I found myself overweight. Other people, and it's not just a gene.
Right.
Look at the 1950s.
Yes.
What all of a sudden? Like
90% of our physique is nutrition.
Yeah.
90%. So,
I'm learning that.
And the other 10% is you are what you are and what you do.
Right.
So you've got the frame you've got, and there's nothing that's going to change bone frame, right? But other than maybe osteoporosis. So we'll say effectively we're not going to change our frame. But the flesh that we put on that frame is all about what we put in our bodies first and foremost. Yeah. Like really, if you have your nutrition dialed in, you could do next to nothing. You could just only sauna. It's like sauna is. It's so promising too for situations like this. I think the obesity epidemic. Obviously we have heart disease killing people left and right, cancer, liver failure. So there's a lot of people that are in situations where they can't effectively exercise. And by getting in the sauna, and I'm actually using this tool right now with a man I love very, very much, who he's been sedentary for a few decades now, and his health is really taking a toll. But motivating him to move is really stinking hard. And part of that is you get to a part where you are literally fatigued, right? Your cellular energy is so depleted, like the best thing for you is to go on a walk. It's like peeling yourself up and going for the walk. So it's that initial period where I think if we can plug sauna into people's lives who are otherwise not going to move or can't move, it's kind of the bridge to maybe getting them to exercise, or if they are truly paraplegic or something, it's just having a little bit better health than what they're experiencing.
I call it passive cardio, because when I'm in the sauna, I wear my watch in there. My heart rate gets up to like 150, 160 after about 15 or 20 minutes in a very hot sauna. It's cardio.
It is.
But you're not doing anything.
Right.
So that is exactly what you're saying. So you have somebody that maybe is unable to do cardio. You're still getting the cardiovascular benefits by sitting in there for 20 minutes, and you don't have to do anything.
Never breaks 60.
You're coming
Maybe we
with
should
me.
drink a delicious cup of coffee.
Yeah, drink some coffee.
Yeah. And
but
do you normally sauna after your workout, or
I do just like for time constraints, and I cold plunge after that. And I know that's probably not the ideal way to do it, but the way my timing works out, it just works better for me. So I'll go to the gym or work out at home, and then sauna, and then cold plunge, and then out.
So where were you leading with that? Is there a suggestion as to when it's better in terms of working out?
It depends on, I guess, what your goals are. So if you're after gains, then maybe that's what you're.
I'm too old for gains, so I don't really care about that. Yeah.
And if that was what you were going for, you would want to wait to cold plunge.
Yeah.
Or cold plunge pre-workout, because your cold plunge is gonna bring down cellular inflammation, but inflammation is also where we're making our gains, because we got little micro tears in our muscles from working out, and if we go in there and we go put the fire out immediately, right, getting in that cold water, well, we're removing that inflammation so quickly that we're not making the muscle gains. So you're going to have reduced soreness, sure, and that lactic acid's going to be swept away more quickly. You're not going to have the same muscle soreness tomorrow, but you will not be gaining the lean muscle mass. Now, that being said, like, if gains aren't what you're after, if it's just mental health, cognitive improvement, cold plunge anytime.
Yep.
Well, within reason. I would say before noon. I treat cold plunge kind of like my coffee, because I get amped up.
Yep.
And if you've ever been like that, where you've cold plunged in the evening, it took me a couple times to recognize, like, why can I not go to sleep, right? Just monkey brain, like clanging the cymbals, all the things of the day, like can't fall asleep. Like, oh, well, I cold plunge at like 6 p.m. and sweat the sheets, it's like, so cold plunge earlier in the day, because it's what we see with it too is like an immediate rise in cortisol, which we would kind of attribute as a negative effect. But what it is in turn doing is making us more sensitive and creating the cortisol should be higher in the morning. Okay. And that's why a lot of times when you're somebody who struggles to settle down, gets really wired in the evening, you might have a cortisol switch. It happens with a lot of autoimmune conditions, thyroid disease, where our mornings are really hard to get started because our cortisol is low in the morning and it's high in the evening. And I'm one of those people, so I have to be very, very careful. I do my cold shower or cold plunge in the morning. Making sure I'm not caffeinating past 9 a.m. Like, because of the cortisol effect for me, I'll just never sleep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I fall into this trap when we were talking about this before we started, but the caffeine, like afternoon, and the way I know that I'm having too much caffeine is I'll have a cup of coffee in the afternoon and I'm like immediately more tired than I was. And I know that my adrenals are shot. I still do it anyway, cause I'm dumb and I'm a man, but then like every now and then, like this conversation we had today will probably remind me, hey, why don't I just have decaf in the afternoon? It tastes exactly the same. Don't tell your friends, they'll mock you for it, but it's okay.
What, you're going to drink decaf coffee? I'm having a hard time drinking this with caffeine. You're just going to drink it just for the good taste?
In the afternoon.
You're killing me right now.
Yes.
That's like drinking alcohol with the alcohol removed.
I've never really understood that either. I get it. I know what you're saying.
Jeez.
Alcohol with the alcohol removed. Like a non-alcoholic beer?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying?
I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, what's the point, right?
Anyways.
Well, it still tastes like it, kind of.
I got it's a wannabe wine from the Northwest Integrated Health their fall event this year, we bring the sauna to it. Copal Foods was there. She's doing some really cool stuff with seasonal, and all of her beef is grass-fed, grass-finished, no seed oils anywhere in her joint. And I believe there are spirits, I don't know if she has anything that's actually with alcohol, but this one it's called Saints, and it cost more, like twice as much as a bottle of wine. Blew my mind when I bought it. I was like, holy crap, dude. But it's like Palo Santo, like smoked wood, and it's the most wild thing. Like especially for people who, alcohol is a legitimate problem for some people, right?
Yes.
And to be able to like have a drink in your hand and socialize over something that has a unique flavor to it.
That's the ritual, right? Yeah.
That's the ritual.
Like the alcohol really is irrelevant to me at this stage of my life. I still enjoy drinking, but I think it's the ritual. So I love hop water. There's some really good hop waters out there that probably somebody that didn't drink alcohol would be like, this is disgusting, but there's that bitterness to it that it feels like you're drinking something. Because the alcohol is not doing it for me at this point in my life. Like, I think you're in the same boat. We drink very rarely. We did drink the other night with the general on a podcast.
Still rarely,
but it's pretty rare.
If we get together once a week to have a drink, that's probably more than normal. Anyways.
Yeah, and that's good. That's all I need. Like, I don't.
Right.
It doesn't do anything for me anymore. Right. It makes me feel like shit.
Heather,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say this is another interesting factor of just the pendulum swing, because we did go through lots of years of the right amount of alcohol for health. And it's really the evidence is continuing to show that there's not really a good amount. So even with wine, it's like, if you want the polyphenols or something, eat a couple grapes or,
and it's the same thing. It's funny when I used to stop people and they'd be on, when I talk to people that were addicted to meth and heroin and everything else, I don't think it's any different than alcohol. There's just one little difference, is the fact that people don't think it's as bad. But everybody I'd talk to, when I would arrest somebody, I would ask them, be like, hey, do you like this? Do you like being on meth? And they're like, no, man. If I could get off it, I would. Like, everybody wants off of it. The same thing when you really talk to people about alcohol and you're like, why do you drink? And I think there's a big push right now in culture and society, especially among first responders, where people are starting to stop drinking.
Yep.
Like, they're starting to look at it and be like, you know what? I don't know what's really in this for me. And I can tell you what's in it for me. I didn't drink till I was 28, but I can tell you what's in it for me. For me, if I'm drinking, it's literally because I loosen up and I have fun and I like having a buzz, right? Yeah. I don't want that every day of my life. Right. There's certain times where I'm like, this is fun. It's a safe environment. This is where I can do that.
And do I have anything left I have to get done today?
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
No.
So there's certain times where I'm like, I understand what I'm doing here, right? Like, I understand that, I'm not going to have as much control. I'm going to be a little more mouthy. I'm going to start talking about things that I talk about all the time as I'm going to drink. But anyway.
Safe moments.
Right, yeah. So, but I mean, I recognize that there's a feeling that comes with it, and that's why. But if you were to ask me, like, what's the health benefits of whiskey? But there's none.
Yeah,
I don't know anybody that can come up to me, but when I was a kid.
I'm a better dancer.
Right.
I
remember my dad would tell me, he'd be like, oh yeah. He told me, he'd have his beer every day. And I'm like, well, what? Is there anything good? No, alcohol has good effects. And one day he recorded the news and he goes, come, look at this. And I'm watching it, and the lady's on the news. She's like, scientists have found that 1 glass of red wine a day may have benefits for your heart. And I'm like, I'm confused. How's that a beer? I don't understand. And they said may. And maybe this part, anyways, but there's no health benefits to it. And it really is.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And that ritual, for me, I'm cooking dinner or whatever, a glass of wine, that's nice. But there are ways to replace it. And that's where the hop water has been good. I found some banana water at Pilgrim's. I don't know if you ever had that. It's a tall can. The ingredients literally says 2 organic bananas. I don't know if they mix it with water or whatever, but it's delicious.
Interesting.
Yeah. It does have 19 grams of sugar because of the bananas, but super good. So there's things out there like that you can get it. I know Nate drinks, what is it, Death Water or something? Is that the name of it?
Liquid Death.
Liquid Death.
Oh yeah, in the cans.
Yeah.
Because they're death to plastic is kind of their.
And it's like a cool water, it's flavored waters.
Marketing genius.
It is marketing genius.
Tall boy in your hand.
Yeah, like you can hang with the boys who are drinking beer and you feel like you're doing something too.
Drinking water. Well, let's go back to this real quick.
Oh yeah, we got
I want to highlight
We can
this.
tie this to the brain too. I think this would be a good way to segue and hearing you guys talk about like stopping people who were addicts. Because there's really good implications with sauna and cold plunge and addiction, right? And breathwork as well. And I think like heroin was a really great example, as well as fentanyl, right? Because we're in this huge just opioid epidemic that is, I've lost somebody that I love dearly to fentanyl, and it's horrible. It's freaking horrible. And with sauna, it's so amazing, and I've got to see it firsthand. We had a handful of people that were coming to 1.0 that were coming. They had basically their psychiatrist who was helping them through like detox suggest it to them, and I watched people get off of drugs through sauna, through cold plunge.
That's cool.
I think part of it is definitely replacing a habit, right? Like it's really hard to give up any habit if now you just have a void there. Find something healthy to replace it with, and it gets that much easier to give it up, right?
Occupy your time.
Occupy your time. Don't be idle. The productivity is going to make you feel better as well. Just the actual hormonal effect of challenging yourself in other ways. But with sauna, it's so interesting because, right, initially when we get in, like you feel amazing, right? It's like, this is awesome. It's not really till your core temperature has risen to that uncomfortable part where you start now dumping the dynorphin, which is kind of the opposite of the endorphins, right? We get in, we dump endorphins. It's pleasurable. We feel awesome. If you're like me, you fall asleep. It's like, told not to do that. Once again, still not medical advice, just saying this is what happens to me. I get so relaxed. I get in there, I'm like, first 20 minutes, pass out, usually wake up within 5 minutes of like, I need out of here. And it's like that dynorphin wakes me up from discomfort. But what's really beautiful about this is endorphins, they actually bind to the opioid receptor that's on your neurons. So it's the same receptor that binds opioid drugs.
Yep.
So when somebody's taking fentanyl or addicted to heroin or these things, same effect, right? And these are some of the, as you guys know, it's like the class of some of the absolute most addictive drugs. Clearly, like you don't just get off of heroin. You have to go through a detox protocol because you can die from detoxing. So with sauna, we are now releasing dynorphin, and the dynorphin actually creates a feedback loop, and it's going to bind to a different receptor, but through that feedback loop, it makes you more sensitive to the endorphins. So, a lot of times what leads people down drug addiction is an event that they are trying to numb. Almost always it's some kind of self-numbing effect. And it is so sad because like addicts are absolutely people too. And so many of the ones that I've known and loved and been friends with throughout my life, what started them down that road was like they were a victim of something. And it's so heartbreaking because then they went from something that they wanted to numb, and now they're just a victim of themselves. And they stay in this mentality oftentimes for forever. One of my closest friends was an amazing baseball player, and he hurt his shoulder when we were young. And after surgery, became addicted to his pills, and he is now a schizophrenic. He lives in a mother-in-law, 40 years old, my age. And it's just like heart-wrenching. Yeah. So I see so many promise with sauna and cold plunge in like so many arenas. But I think what especially speaks to my heart is the things that people are like totally ailing from. Right. Like it's great. A great way to relax, a great way to just feel rejuvenated. But I can't wait to see what it's doing for addiction, for mental health, for chronic pain. Yeah, there's so much to explore here. Tell us about the new 2.0 facility, because this is exciting. There's some pretty cool features, I think. It is exciting. thank God I saunaed before all of this because it has not been easy. Yeah, it's like I said, life just kind of comes along. Sometimes that seagull craps on you, and then from that you learn something, or you learn lots of things, and you pivot and you make changes, and now here we are. We are going on a year later. It was January 13th.
Wow, that long already?
That long.
Damn.
And I don't know if you guys saw the Post Falls Library just reopened last week. So that actually kind of gave me this feeling of like, all right, you guys you're doing okay. Like there's nothing you could have done.
They flooded at the same time?
Same exact morning.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
same
we had
morning.
a cold snap last winter, and a lot of pipes froze and burst, and that's what happened.
That's what happened. And so with that, Heat Praxia 1.0 was obviously destroyed. And the next few weeks after that were just real, they're very trying to, figure out like, where do we go from here? Insurance was a nightmare. Insurance continues to be a nightmare. But it was really after about, 2 days of like just sulking and like being in this gross pity party of like, oh, what was me?
Yeah.
Then I woke up on like day 3 and I was like, dude, like there's so much opportunity in this. We're already having capacity issues. I already wanted the building that we were ended up moving to. You know, that had been on my heart, on my mind for a year. I had this vision of this wellness space that people could come to and be relieved of their pain, and hopefully also be recuperating from some of these ailments, because we don't use the CURE word, but we've seen firsthand where people are coming off of medications and stuff as well. So this is really happening, and when everything happened, it was very apparent to me within 3 days that I didn't want to stay in the building. Things were not handled properly with mitigation of mold, of asbestos tile.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff going on that I absolutely disagreed with. And I'm a sensitive person as well. And with what goes on with my immune system, I was just like, this is the vast majority of our clients. Like, They're just like me. They're not going to be able to enter the space. I'm having dizzy spells, like, through the demo. I'm sick to my stomach most days. Lethargy. It was just like, done with this space. Don't want to throw in the towel, guys, but we're moving to Lakeshore, or I'm on to the next adventure, you know?
Yeah.
And that was basically that. Like, I took them to show them again. The last time had been a year prior, we're a full year before destruction, and they basically thought I was insane. Like, I showed them that space. We were in 1,400 square feet where we were destroyed, and I showed them this 6,800 square foot space, and they're like, you're psychotic, And I'm like, no, just like visualize it, you guys. It would be so amazing. And it was this God moment of like, and regardless of, however you feel, however you believe, it was, we had been put in this situation where we had tough decisions to make, and there was truly no easy way around it. We were demoing a space no matter what we did. We were rebuilding a space no matter what we did. Do we stay here where so far insurance is just going to shaft us, the mold, the asbestos, or do we take this massive leap of faith and know that we can serve more people? And for me, I also really wanted a space where we could have a classroom, because breath work is very, very important to the practice as well as healing. And I want to do more breath work for fire. You're saying it's hard to say that anybody really has the ownership of like these issues, but it's not far-fetched to say they do. Right. We see within fire, they have the largest incidence of lymphoma. So there are people that really own the show with some of these stressors, and bringing that breath classroom in, we can be able to serve fire as a whole, LEO as a whole, and there's breath work specifically tailored to their exposures and their risk factors and the stresses that they're having, as well as the huge communal sauna. Those were kind of the two things that it was just like, we need these to make this thing really fly, and to be able to do this in enough community. because people love the private model. I love the private model. There's times where I'm at my capacity. I don't need a sauna in community. I need to shut off. I just want to go in there and shut down. But then there's the community aspect of it too, where like there's times you want to be with a group of people.
Right.
And our largest sauna before fit, people your size, maybe 4 people.
Yeah.
So
is there both options now at the new space?
Yep. So we're sticking with the private model, but then we also have one huge communal sauna that's going to fit like 30 people.
30, whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. We're going to have to put a lot of like, lavender oil and stuff in the lower. Like there's 30 people in one hot room.
Yeah.
It's going to be right.
Dude, okay.
And we're using a really fragrant lumber in there too, which, if you noticed before, none of our saunas ever stunk. We were very, very good about keeping them clean and stuff. But I joke, and we'll have the exact same standards as before. Everybody's gonna be sitting on towels.
It was very spa-like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For those that had never been, like extremely, it felt very high end, but also really relaxed. Like you didn't have to like put on a show to be in there. It was like
right.
You show up in a hoodie and whatever, you're fine. But
totally.
But it was super clean, like really nice finishes, like a good space to be in.
Right, and the thought is like a lot of what's behind it is our nervous system, and I've experienced this firsthand. Is it can be really challenging, it actually next to impossible, to recuperate and heal when our nervous system is firing.
Right,
and so we wanted the space to be very minimalistic. There was it was simple in its design, but beautiful and crisp and clean, so that you just came in and you felt like at peace, and you had that calmness, and it was just this tranquil space that you come in there. And
so you have the big community one. How many private rooms for sauna?
So we have 6 plus 1 infrared. We're doing 7 private, where before we were entirely finished traditional, and so we'll be finished traditional plus 1 infrared sauna.
Okay.
But even then, we're really trying to beef it up with like extra carbon, extra heaters.
How about red light therapy? Is each one going to have its own red light in it, or?
Everything has, 6 of 7 have their own red light.
Okay.
Where before, like Silver Lake did not have red light.
Yeah.
And it won't again. We're reincarnating Silver Lake. That's our ADA sauna, so that checks all the boxes.
Right.
If we have to get a wheelchair into the sauna. That space will have a glass door again, so we're not going to put a red light in there. And then the communal won't have red light. All the other private spaces will.
Okay.
And then we're doing one entire room of red light.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that'll be able to serve communal.
Okay.
So communal, you'll still be able to come get red light. And it'll have a big pink salt wall in it too. So you'll have that halo therapy.
For like licking or like?
It depends on how you want to get down.
Don't lick the wall,
This
Dave.
is salt wall.
Don't lick the wall.
I might lick it. Okay, so we got a salt wall, and then what about Cold-Plunge? How many of those? What is the setup for that?
So currently, one Cold-Plunge, we got the Big Daddy that is a 10-foot by 7-foot, 3-foot deep in ground. Yeah, like the kind of single largest investment of HPX 2.0.
So how many people can fit in that?
How comfortable are you with these people?
I don't know, Seth 10? And I. We need at least 3 inches of space between
cuddle.
us.
Yeah, I want to
The
cuddle.
cool thing about Cold-Plunge is like shoulder to shoulder is not uncomfortable, right? You're not touching a sweaty person. And I mean, if you really love them, like laps are acceptable. But I would say 10 people probably.
Comfortably. People that don't know each other, 10 of them.
Yeah.
I imagine you guys put in a pretty beefy cooling system on that thing, like
Heck
top of the line.
Yep. So this actually had to be like, we had to cut concrete. We got to dig. In-ground plumbing system, sump pump. The chiller is the like size of a refrigerator.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
See, that's where a lot of people go wrong. I know you guys struggled in the last one with a couple of those tubs.
Achilles heel.
So I go to Peak in Post Falls to use. They have a Cold-Plunge, and the one in the men's room is broken almost every day. And I'm like, you bought a shitty Cold-Plunge.
Yeah.
That you can't use it for commercial use because that's what happens.
Yeah.
It's always broken.
Well, you just want to have good filters on those things and everything else, you know?
Well, and the thing is like, I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I assume that's the case. I think they were not battle tested. I think they created a product and said that it could do something that they hadn't proven to themselves yet it could do.
Okay.
Because they were retrofitting us all the time, right? We were retrofitted with a beefed up filter, retrofitted with a hair kit, all these commercial parts. We were still closing for an hour in the middle of the day every day to dump, sanitize, clean 3 tubs. Like,
What a pain in the
Wow.
ass.
oh, it was the morning we flooded. I thought it was the Cold-Plunge tubs because, and we had a basement, right? So there was a basement below us, and there were a couple times like, thank God the man down there calling is just a saint, because I wouldn't have liked me if I were him. You know,
Yeah.
the amount of times he had to come up and be like, "There's water dripping on our t-shirt dryer." You know, I'm like, oh my gosh.
So, okay.
Plunge, you know, and then I get the call the morning of January 13th, and I'm like, those stinking tubs. You know, I got down there, I'm like, why couldn't it be the tubs? Like, why couldn't
Yeah,
it
that would have been a lot
be the
easier.
tubs?
Oh, gosh.
So communal plunge, communal sauna, 6 saunas plus an infrared. What else? And we have breathwork area.
Yep,
And
classroom
then the
for
red
breathwork.
light room with the licking salt wall.
Yes.
Oh, am I wrong in thinking that the big sauna has a window to the lake?
It absolutely
That
has
is
a
probably one of the
huge
coolest,
picture.
Yes.
coolest features, right?
Yeah. It's
Imagine a snowy day, sitting in there,
Oh, it's
looking
perfect.
out the. What a beautiful spot.
It's so gorgeous.
That
gorgeous.
is the vision. I can see that. When are you guys opening? What are we looking at roughly?
You know, I'm super hopeful for somewhere in February.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere in February. My hopes continue to be kind of.
What's holding you up right now?
Well, I mean, we finally got our building permits October 16th.
Yeah.
Wow. Ugh.
Yeah, it was a process. And it was funny because that was actually my birthday. And it was like, I'm only working a half day today, and today's the day. And I just told myself that. And I went down to the city hall, and it was the first time I ever sat down. It's amazing what sitting down at the city
Yeah,
hall did.
they're like,
if
shit,
you sit
she's
down and
committed.
cross your legs, they're like, crap, she's not leaving. You know what I mean? And then like the roll of paper came out, she's stamping blueprints and signing. I was like, you're telling me like maybe if I sat down like 4 weeks ago when I came in here
Yeah.
to ask how things were going.
So do you need people to help with like a soft opening before then, or to check it out or anything?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Well, and the Horsts I know got this message that
Yep.
because our member appreciation party for 2024 was the 3rd weekend in January, so it never happened because the weekend prior we flooded.
Yep.
So we're gonna have our member appreciation party, like a VIP soiree, before we even open, and then the next couple days will be soft opening as well to just be able to work out, those kinks and stuff before we open it up to the public. So definitely let you guys know.
Yes.
That's
yes.
cool.
we'll
Yeah,
come
we're
down.
gonna do some more awesome. I don't know about this time around, because it's gonna be that much larger. Like I did a prime rib for the last one. I think we're gonna do more like Scandinavian kind of spread and
Nice.
smoked salmon and.
Oh, that's fitting.
Yes.
Yes.
How
I like
about
it.
mobile sauna options?
So we still have the mobile sauna.
Okay.
And I'm I still get lots of requests for it. I'm renting it out a little bit less, especially this time of year, because I've gotten myself into some pretty tricky situations with the mobile sauna.
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah. And where I'm like, this is how I die. This is how I die.
Another one.
Mountain roads,
Oh yeah.
snow, just people don't take into account,
Right.
like you're trailering something and you have to get it into a space. And like one of our last ones was well up above Hayden Lake, and it was the end of like a dead end road that is like on a rock cliff. And I did learn last year to always get it,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
come on in, put her in park where you can get out of this space real easily and walk the whole spread, because there's been a couple where I'm just like, I don't have the
can't even turn around.
capability
I
to
think
get
we're
out of here.
talking about trying to do that in January and doing a client appreciation thing and getting
Yeah.
people to come in and cold plunge down at like Honeysuckle or something.
Yeah.
Not a mountainous road, right?
We could do that.
Easy parking lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
we'll
could
have to
do
talk
that.
to you about that, because
Cool,
I know
that'd be fun.
I try to get my wife in. She's been going to Peak and doing it, but she won't come to the lake with me because I go to the lake every morning.
Oh, the lake's better.
It's amazing, but she wants the hot right afterwards. Like she wants to be able to jump into a sauna.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, man, if that'll get you doing it, then we should rent this thing.
Yeah.
Get her
Yeah.
out there.
All right, let's talk about that. Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll figure that out. It's going to the Stretch Lab, Coeur d'Alene. That's the second week of January. That's the only thing I've committed to in January. So I love that.
We need to make
and,
that happen.
and knowing
We'll
that
pick a
you're not
day.
gonna send me to the top of
No.
a mountain. I'll be there.
No.
Yeah, in the snow. I'm like,
No, we got to be near the water.
Yeah.
So that'll be good.
Cool. Well, we're about an hour, so we'll wrap it up. But thank you, Heather.
Thank you,
Heather
guys.
Gagos from Heat Praxia. They 2.0 coming in February-ish, hopefully.
Yep.
And they're going to be down by Sanders Beach, if you know where that is. Right
Yep.
there on the spot.
Awesome location.
1090 East Lakeshore Drive. So
Sweet.
11th Street Marina.
Fantastic. Highly recommend. That was one of my favorite things to go do every day. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thank you, Heather.
Perfect.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
All right.
Thank
Catch you next time.
Thank you.